vision and
Right.
all the other
For
things.
For a member with married, with dependents, what's the total cost?
And again, I'm gonna give it to you in a big package, because that's how I usually look at it, with the medical, the vision, the dental, it's around 18,000.
Right, so it's about $3,000 roughly per person that they have to pay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and
At the
and
rate
if that's
today.
the case that we
At today,
Wow.
did
yeah.
pass a general resolution for 80-20, I'm gonna recommend to
No,
my
you
colleagues
did.
on the board.
You didn't. You would have had to, in order for the district to go 80-20, my recollection is you would have had to have passed a resolution supporting 80-20 as an option last fall.
Oh, according,
I don't.
according to what they told us last month, it's still, districts can still do that, but if you don't have it in place by October 1st, you get the hard cap.
Right.
And a lot of districts are just defaulting to the hard cap because that way they're not the bad guys.
And that's what we did, yeah.
And, you know, the only ones I think in our district that will affect is the teachers. I think they go till 14, correct?
13.
13?
Local 64 has a
Same
letter of
thing.
understanding to
Till
14.
14. Everybody else.
Are we gonna save anything? Help me out here if it's, which one it is, I'm trying to think, get the right name. With the new retirement rates that the employee's gonna have to pay, is it?
Still up in the air.
Yeah, I
It's
can't
all-
even answer, that's
That's
very
all still balancing.
Is
complicated.
that gonna save us any money at all? Will our
Oh, yeah.
retirement percentage drop in
Well,
the district?
it'll affect future rates, like right now, you know, we're paying 24.46, next year we're 27.37. That rate for the next year will be hopefully not as much of an
Won't go up,
increase,
right.
correct?
But yeah, you need to read, if you read through the Senate and the House versions, they're drastically
Mm-hmm.
different.
Right, but
on
I'm
that,
just saying, if that goes into effect, there's a potential.
They're both geared to lower our retirement. rate.
Okay, that's what I mean.
Because
They
I
are,
think it's
and-
projected at 30-some% for
Yeah.
13,
The
14.
If
Yeah.
everything
And
stays.
there's
If everything
also a
stayed
bill
the
kicking
same.
around out there, I think it's still in committee, that says that any public employee in the MidSearch program, if they're eligible for retirement and don't retire before July 1st of this coming year, they will not be able to collect their medical benefits as part of their retirement until they turn 60. And that puppy comes out of committee, it's
That's-
gonna sail.
That's gone, that would only cover new employees. All current employees, both bills, I think, have an 80-20 for retirement health care, which is, again, gonna save districts a huge amount.
The thing that was supposedly in committee 2 weeks ago was something that would
You're right.
basically be an incentive for people to I will say graduate, to retire this year.
Right.
It was an additional penalty.
Yeah.
It's like a
But that's,
decentive.
Right.
both the House and
Are
the
we getting
Senate,
that stuff
that
out
wasn't,
of
that
the
didn't make
eligible
it.
employees about
Didn't
that?
make it out of committee yet.
No.
It hasn't,
It
the
won't.
ball's still
Nah.
bouncing a
It
little
won't,
bit.
because they both have their state aid bills now that have been passed, so, my understanding. We're a little bit off topic, and we have limited time, so if I can move us forward. I had two essential things that I wanted to cover. Item B, debt levy projections. Included in your packet is a colorful chart. The line chart looks like this. It's got
Mine.
lines with 3 different colors. One of the concerns that has bounced around at various study sessions this year had to do with the fact that, well, with declining property values, is 7 mills going to cover, is it going to generate enough money for us to make our debt payments? And the answer to that question is no. We have to borrow money this year, and we will have to borrow money in the immediate future. And I'm going to let Sherry cover the detail work, but I want you to look at the red line right now. The red line basically shows what our principal and interest payments are
That is correct.
on an annual basis all the way out to 2029. And you notice that, you know, right now we're at 2012, the beginning, but you notice that red line kind of gradually increases and then it spikes in 2021, okay? But then it starts to decline, all right? Now, if you look at the blue line, you can see how much of a shortfall we have right now at 7 mills until, when's the year where we break even? Let's see how good you are. at Brad.
2023.
Very good, all right. In 2022 and a half or 2023, those two lines intersect. At that point, what happens is our debt levy is gonna enable us to pay back what we're borrowing to make the payments between 2012 and 2022 or 2023. So what you see happening here is that right now there isn't enough money, but because we're part of the school bond loan fund,
Correct.
basically, they become our personal bankers for the time of that shortfall, and that money gets paid back between 2023 and 2029.
Until that loan fund gets shut down in a year and a half.
If it gets shut down.
It will.
And if it gets shut down, then basically they'll require districts to raise the rates.
Correct.
Which will be an even bigger hit 2 years from now than it would be now.
That'll be a big hit for everybody.
And that loan fund, I mean, this has nothing to do with Romulus, but if the state takes that action to shut down the revolving bond fund, it'll be shut down for 30 years.
Yeah, I saw something
You know,
about
that's a problem.
Did you wanna, did I miss anything?
Nope, you did it exactly as I would have.
Well, then how many mills would we, to get away from borrowing,
Mm-hmm.
how many mills does this represent, the shortfall every year?
I think we figured it was between 2.7 and 3 mils right now,
The average between all the years?
for the next, up till 2023.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty close. A lot of it depends
The
on
highest,
actual
I
property
wanna
values,
say,
but-
I wanna say the highest it went was 10 point something,
Yeah.
but don't quote me on
Yeah,
that.
so a little over 3 mils. That's
Yeah,
what I'm remembering
yeah.
too.
And what's the interest rate we pay?
3% is what it is right now. That's what it'll be in May.
So we either raise the mill or we borrow the money.
That's pretty much.
To put the taxpayers that many more years in debt.
So if we
Well,
borrow
it's
the
not
Well, they
more,
break
it's-
even,
no,
though.
it's not more years in debt.
No,
I don't
no,
want
no.
you to
So
think
we
that.
borrow-
That
it doesn't
money's still gonna
expand.
pay off in 2029.
We
Right.
borrow the money and we make interest payments, and we're losing money that we can use on our programs, or we raise the mills and
No.
get the
This
money
is-
we need.
No, it doesn't
Completely
work that
separate.
way.
What?
No, this is a completely separate fund.
Yeah, this has nothing to do
Doesn't
with general
commingle with
fund.
general.
But if we borrow the money, right?
You pay it out of debt.
You don't
The
have to pay
interest
it
gets
back.
the interest gets rolled into.
Correct.
Rolled into the bank.
Right,
Yes.
the money gets paid back, Tom, after 2023, because
Okay.
at that
You're
point,
making-
the blue line is now above the red
Okay.
line. So it
Alright.
gets paid back, it's pretty much invisible to the general fund. That's what the school bond loan fund was set up to do, was to smooth out those payments.
But it looks like, when we told the taxpayers, it looked like we had 0.75% that we could use for a sinking fund, we really needed it
It's a bad
for
forecast.
Well, you,
At
debt.
the time.
It was based on the
that-
information we had at that time, and they were very, the, Stoddard did those projections for us.
Property
So it was a
values
very
were a little
conservative
different too
projection,
back then,
but you're
too.
right,
mhm,
in retrospect.
they were higher.
I mean, who would have thought in 2008 the property values would be where they are today?
For real.
So we don't really have any money in our, Madam Chair, our sinking fund is,
Oh, we'll have with the two projects that we're moving forward with now, we're pretty much
Yeah, right.
We're
exhausted.
pretty much gonna exhaust it.
One less account you have to monitor now.
So I wanted you to understand that projection, and if you have other questions related to that as you look at that graph, be sure to call Sherry or myself. Sherry knows more than.
And we have had Sutter Birch, the services are free, many times because they're involved with refinancing and things of that nature. So we do have experts look at this and provide us data in terms of what they see taxable values being in the future and things of that nature. So we did get a second opinion.
So now going back to the page that looks like this, it has a bar graph and then a table up on top. The last point, and this point really speaks to a couple of issues that came up in our conversation. How would these various projections impact our taxpayers? We've got some people that feel very strongly that we should not go back on a commitment, and we've got some people that feel very strongly that we need to let taxpayers know what it would cost them if we did go back on that commitment, all right? So, the very first section here, all right, let's assume that we have a Romulus homeowner with a home of a market value of $60,000, all right?
This state equalized.
No, that would be a market value. Okay, state equalized would be half of that, okay? In 2009, that homeowner paid $659.70 in school taxes, and that included the 6 mil, state school tax, the hold harmless tax, the sinking fund, and the debt levy. And at that, in 2009, the debt levy was 6.25, and the sinking fund was 0.75. So they paid a total in 2009 of 21.99 mils. And if you look at the fine print right below the table, that's where that's spelled out for you. Okay, now we jump to 2012. All right, this current school year, that same homeowner, actually, their house would be worth less, so they would be paying less. But someone in 2012 dollars who has a house with a market value of $60,000 would pay a little over $100 less in school taxes. And the breakout on that, they're still going to pay the six mils in the state tax. Their hold harmless tax went from 8.99 to 5.13. We didn't levy a sinking fund tax, but we did levy a 7 mil debt levy tax. So their mills went from 21.99 to 18.13. So they're paying almost just under about 3.5 mils less than they paid in 2009. Now, in 2013, they would pay $532 if we just levy the 7 mil debt and no sinking fund tax.
Wait a minute, 13, you got sinking fund entered, isn't it?
Well,
The
wait, there's 2 13s there, okay? The
Oh,
one that
okay.
doesn't have the little star.
Yeah,
Okay, that's hold harmless only, no sinking fund. So their payments would still be lower than they were in 2012. That's assuming, again, because, and this goes back to a point Danielle made, that our enrollment's going to be lower, or we're projecting that, which means the maximum allowable hold harmless tax would have to be lowered, and we're projecting that would be lowered to about 4.75. So they're still paying less money. If the board were to decide to levy the hold harmless and the sinking fund, that $532.50 would be $555 on that same piece of property. So let's talk about a homeowner with a property value, a market value of $60,000. Levying that sinking fund would cost them basically $1 a month extra in taxes.
Yep.
And that would provide money to maintain, our physical facilities. We can't use sinking fund money to buy furniture, but we can use sinking fund money to continue our work in repairing the fire alarm systems, the parking lots.
And some of the things the general fund is picking up now.
Yeah, the things the general fund will have to pick up.
Correct, that's a good point.
Can I be the devil's advocate here and point out one flaw in all these calculations? We're using a home market value based, and you touched on this a little bit, based on a 2009 property value, and then comparing that same household in 2012 and again next year. The problem with that is the market value has gone down
Right.
substantially, but the taxable value has not.
Well, it hasn't kept pace. It's gone down, but not at the same
My
rate.
taxable value has gone up.
Mine's went
Really?
down.
Mine went down.
Mine went up 1.8% this year,
You need to call.
even though,
Phone call, 'cause-
Be a Michigan tax
They
tribunal.
It's that swimming pool you
Right.
put in.
yeah, that would be the swamp.
There's all them streetlights every
It's
Thursday.
all
Right.
them streetlights that we paid a special assessment for that I'd like to go around or do a little thing with a BB gun and shoot out.
Hey, you're on the air now.
Cost more to repair.
The problem is, not everybody has seen this reduction in their taxes, is my
I
point.
understand.
And that's the battle we all
This
have.
is a ballpark.
Yeah,
projection.
it's just an
There's no way
example.
we could find
There wouldn't be,
Now, when you do
wouldn't
this,
be.
and I think we talked about this before when you had your PowerPoint shirt, if you could do it in $10,000 increments, so a person that could possibly have a 70 or an 80 or a 50, at least it gives them
You
more
kind of know
truer
the
numbers to
ballpark
where
of
they're
where
at.
they
Right.
kind of fall.
I know it's a little bit of work, but
It's not hard to do.
It's not.
if somebody's, if I got my taxable value is 60,000 and Danielle's is, 70,000, she wants to know what she's paying, not what Tom's paying.
Right.
She wants to know the numbers.
Yeah, that's
and-
easy to do.
It would be easier for the community to actually understand it.
Wasn't it here, or was it this, one of the city meetings, that it was discussed about a postcard campaign where we actually had stickers generated? This is your old tax, this is what your